Nation. Welcome back to Carla's channel, Heart to Heart Inspiration Podcast, where we dive heart first into powerful stories, meaningful conversations, and people who inspire purpose and possibility. But remember to like, subscribe, and follow and share on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, all at Carla Channel, Heart to Heart Inspiration. So today we're diving into a world where life, death, and body slams collide. What? Introducing Wade Simmons. He's the creative behind the gritty Bending Web series, The Many Lives of Wade Simmons. All right. Yay! He's a filmmaker, mortician, and wrestler. Yes, you heard all of that right. He got a lot going on, but he loves what he does, and he's going to share his story with us today. So, hi, Wade. Welcome to Carla's channel.
Hey, Carla, how you doing today? Thanks, and I love the introduction. I love your energy. I'm excited, and I really appreciate you for having me on today.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to have you. When we connected, I already felt your energy. I'm like, he is so excited. So my hope is that we get the audience excited, not only hearing about your story, but excited about what they can do for their own journey. So
Absolutely.
that's what it's about, right? So
Absolutely.
we're going to start off today. I found out that you are from Chicago.
Yep. Born
Yeah.
and
So born and raised Chicago, Chi-Town, y'all in the house. I am Chicago too. So before we kick us off, Wade, we got to have some Chicago questions. So I'll ask some of my guests sometimes about what are their favorite Chicago restaurants that you like to put people up on.
well, me one of my favorite restaurants. I wouldn't call it like a fancy spot. It's not really fancy, but I like Al's. You know, the Italian beefs and
Oh
the hot dogs.
yeah, yes.
Yeah, I love Al's.
I love Al's. Yes, yes, yes. Al's Italian beef. Nobody can do Italian beef and sausage like Chicago.
Yeah,
You know.
absolutely. That's one
Okay.
of my favorite spots. Whenever I'm over in that area, that's where I go.
And because it's like a couple of them, but is it one on Taylor? Is it West
That's
Side?
yeah, I go
That's
to
the
the one
one.
always on Taylor on the west side. Yeah,
Yeah,
over there,
yeah.
not too far from UIC. Yeah,
Yes, yes. All
that's
right,
a
all
pretty
right. We got that in common.
that's a pretty busy area though. Like you definitely want to stay away from there around like rush hour.
Yes, because it's the hospital district and college
Absolutely.
district. So
Yeah.
it is packed. You are so right about that. Yes, yes. I used to work in that area. We used to go over there all the time. What is kind of like your neighborhood?
So I always say west side and the south side and the south suburbs. I'm gonna tell you why because I had the best of both worlds because when I was younger, we lived on the west side of Chicago. I went to Jensen, right on
Okay.
Harrison. I stayed there from preschool all the way up in the eighth grade, graduated. But in between going to Jensen, a lot of time my grandparents they lived in Chicago Heights. So a lot of times on the weekend we would go to Chicago Heights, and then around the time we had to go to school, we go back to the west side. But then
Yeah.
we grew up going to church on the south side, over in the Bronzeville area. So I kind of was all over the place, it's just I feel like I got some kind of connections to everywhere. And then
Yes.
anybody from Chicago know that everybody's kind of special with family. We got family west side, south side, east side, north side, so
Yep.
everybody's kind of all scattered over the place.
Yep. That's true. Me included. I got some West Side fam. Shout out to my West Side. Me and one of my cousins, we always having a battle. He like West Side, the best side. You know how it go for
Yeah.
Chicago. I'm like, nope, South Side, the best side. So I'm in the wild hundreds, as they say,
Okay.
over in that community. Let's see what else about Chicago. And then everybody always talks about the high school they go to. I don't care where you are. If somebody says they're from Chicago, you always say, "What high school? What high school did you go to?" Like when you meet people from Chicago, they don't say like where you work or what college you went to. They always say, "What high school did you go to?"
Yeah.
It's always the battle of the high school class reunions here in Chicago.
I was upset because when I graduated from Jensen, I was looking forward to going to school in the city, and it's funny because we had left and went to Vegas for like the summer, and I remember I'm
Mm.
like because I had got accepted to I wanted to go to this school called Taft or Prosser,
Oh yeah, yeah,
but I ended
absolutely.
up But like I said, my grandmother was like, "No, you're gonna go to school in Chicago. How you going to Bloom?" I'm like, oh. But I thank God that I went, because if I wouldn't have went, I wouldn't have never met my best friends, Eugene and Jalen. So, I got a lot of friends from there. So it's like, I kind of
Right.
appreciate being able to go to school in the city and in the suburbs. So I kind of
Yep.
got the best. That's why I say I got the best of both worlds.
That is so true. And shout out to your best friends. Woo woo. Okay. Yeah, that makes a difference. Chicago is so huge and the suburbs and everything. So thank you for just, letting us get to know you a little bit more about your upbringing in Chicago. So we are now going to start talking about the many lives of Wade Simmons. Okay. You have a web series. It's pretty cool. I like that. So we can start there with the web series. But before we take it all the way there, what kind of led you into even starting a web series?
That's a great question. I love that question. I really appreciate you for asking that. But to be honest with you, as a child, I always said I wanted to do two things. I said I want to be a funeral director and I want to be a filmmaker.
Okay.
And so that was nothing new to me. That was a passion of mine that I always had. And so what ended up happening was, originally I went to mortuary school first.
Mm.
Once I finished mortuary school, I was kind of like, debating what I was going to do, because we had like this exit exam. I call it the exit career exam, because a lot of people kind of backed out of it because the exam was kind of hard. And so while I was taking my time trying to pass, I'm like, you know what? If this does not work out, I think I need to go to school for something else. And then again, I was in Vegas again because I have family there. And while I
Okay.
was down there, because I had left up here and went to work with my uncle for like a couple of weeks. He owns a plumbing company in Vegas, and I went down there like I got to find something else I can do if I don't pass this test to be a funeral director. So I went down there and I was working with my uncle. And I said, you know what, my family is gifted in the plumbing business, but this is not my it's
Oh.
not my. It was funny because he was working on this one lady house, and I guess the one lady was like, one of your workers did this and that. And so my uncle came, he fixed it, and the whole time while she letting him have it, she was talking to me and her chilling, and she just talking, and we got the gift of gab and connecting. And so I'm like, this plumbing thing ain't mine, but I have more of a gift of talking to people. And when she got done, she was going off on him. And while he was working, me and her just had a whole conversation. And so when he got to working, she told me, next time you come back to Vegas, come back and visit me.
Okay.
But while I was down there, I'm like, I gotta find something that I like. And so I even thought about going to school to be a veterinarian. So I went to the
Mm.
animal hospital, and I saw
Wow.
them sick dogs and dogs with one leg. So I was like, nah, I can't.
You can't do.
All day. And some people are like, how you work in a funeral home, but you can't. But it's different. It's different. To each his
Okay.
own. But so I'm like, if I'm gonna go back to school, it's gonna be for something that I like. And so I chose film school. And so I ended up going to film school. And like right when I got there, I just like, fell in love with making stuff. So I just started renting equipment and teaming up with
Wow.
different students and making stuff. And I remember saying
Now,
like,
how long ago was that?
this was back in, it wasn't that long. It was like 2018. Well, that was a while
Oh,
ago now,
wow.
but
Okay.
yeah. So
Wow.
because 2018 I graduated out of mortuary college. 7 months
Okay.
later, I enrolled in film school.
Wow. You were on a
So
mission. You're on a
yeah,
mission.
so I went to film school, and I remember one of my teachers, his name is Bradley LaRocco, and I was telling him
Okay,
like, maybe
Bradley.
I'll come up with this idea to pitch this idea to like maybe HBO or whatever, like something kind of similar to my life, but not exactly it. Like I had an idea for a web series about a young man who went to mortuary school, and he was trying to date this girl, but he had a concept of purpose and time, where this young lady kind of was just more like living more carelessly.
Oh,
And so it
okay.
was kind of along that premise. But I remember talking to Bradley. He like, you know what? You're a young black man from Chicago. You've been in the
Mm-hmm.
funeral business quite a while. You got an interesting background. Tell your own story, man. So I ended up, taking his advice. And so I just, started making my web series. And the first episode, I'm going to send it to you, it was called Repeat. I had based
Okay.
it off a situation when I was in mortuary college. And what happened was there was an actor that was supposed to play Wade. But what
Mm.
happened was the actor then couldn't make it. Something came up, and I had to pay everybody for being there. So I'm like, you know what? I ain't, like, you know what? I mean, I believe in investing in what you do, but I don't waste my money. So they like, wait, why don't you do the part? So I don't consider myself no actor, but I stepped in and did the part, and so I've been doing it ever since.
Okay.
I love working with the people I work with. We've been doing
Uh-huh.
this almost 9 years now, so
Wow.
it's like I have a
That's
blast.
good.
So I don't plan on ending it anytime soon.
I love that. And you know what? I've interviewed quite a few filmmakers, and they actually said what you're saying. I love that. Oh, and I might need your family's name for the plumbing in the plumbing business in Vegas. You know.
Okay, I got you.
I'm actually really enjoying the web series. Now, before we start talking too deep about the web series, because I got some questions, Wade, tell everybody about your web series and where can they find it?
All right, so my web series, I call it Love Always Wins. It's just really a collective of short films which are based off a character which is loosely based off the guy you see right here. And he has his fiancee Zori, who was played by Deja Booker. Me and Deja actually grew up together in church. Families knew
Okay.
each other before we were born, so she's been, working with me quite a while. And then I have some actual other professional actors that's been working with us. All the way from
Right.
Angelica to Natara. Also Aries, she's out in Washington D.C. She does a lot of, she does her film for me. She just would just do self record and send it to me, and we'll find a way to put it in. Because like one of my things is that if I see somebody that is really talented,
Hmm.
I it's like I have to work with them. I'm not gonna wait till I see you on Jimmy Kimmel Live to work with you. I'm gonna try to work with you
That's
before you
right.
get to that point. Because it's a lot of talented people out here. So basically, that
Right.
web series is just something for us to have fun with and just be creative and just have a little fun. It's not, like I said, it's
Hmm.
not about trying to have the biggest audience. I do have another web series I'm working on too, which is gonna be 3 episodes. I'll tell you about that one too. But the one that
Okay.
I'm working on, I really enjoy it because again, we've been doing it for almost 9 years. We actually a few years ago did a screening at the Music Box Theater in Chicago. We are working on a
Nice.
documentary which is based about the web series about how it came together, why we created it, and then all of the people
Really?
who worked with me over the years, we interviewed them, and
Okay.
we're gonna release it soon. We did like a rough screening, which it was really rough when I say rough, but but for the most part, it was just a way to bring everybody together and just let them know that I appreciate them. And even my friend Jalen, he plays one of my brothers on the web series. My friend Eugene plays a character. So I use a combination of family, friends, actors.
Hmm.
My little cousins, they stepped in and helped out at times. So and to me,
Right.
that's what I kind of like about this age we're in. It's like because, you know, a while ago things were kind of more closed off, but now
Right.
that the media is a part of our everyday life, anybody can create something. And
Yep.
it brings together actors, it brings together friends, family, and to me, it's just
Yes.
because I feel like God is the ultimate creator, the creator of heaven and earth, and so I feel
Right.
that all humanity has a part of them that are creative, and so that's
Right.
why I say any of us have that out there to be creative, but it's just how we use it, and so I
That's
just.
right.
I just choose to use it. And so I like to just make stories about love and relationships because,
Yeah.
again, from somebody who worked in the funeral business, you see a lot of death, you see a lot of
That's
people,
true.
losing relatives and stuff. And, once that time is
That's
over
true.
on this side,
It's
that's,
gone.
at least for now, that's it. So
That's
you got
right.
to cherish every moment. So I tend to try to focus on creating things that encourage people to love one another and just, that's kind of more the area that I like to be in. Yeah.
I love it. I love the web series. You had a episode on there, poem about mother asking for forgiveness. Man, I really enjoyed that because I think a lot of people can resonate with that. Tell us about that. How did that come to be?
So my friend Tammy, she's also from Chicago and she also lives in Vegas. Tammy has been acting for
I
quite
gotta
a
hook up
while.
with her.
Yeah, we became friends just by connecting. And one thing about me, just like how I met you, like I'm one of them people where, if I see people doing something I like, I'm one of them people that I'm actually gonna reach out to you. I am very much a person that likes to connect. It's not always about trying to be seen or this or that, but
Mm-hmm.
everybody has a story. And so like even like you got your podcast and you're doing something positive, you're doing something unique. And so I just think it's a good thing to connect with people because I feel like in the social media age that we live in, I don't want to be getting off subject, but it's like basically I think that it's a platform for us to connect, but I feel like with the way things are now, it's becoming more about marketing and this and that. And
Right.
I think that people are kind of, not all people, but some people are more so kind of losing touch. And what I mean when I say that is like it's becoming more about posting and just small reactions as opposed to people really connecting. And so
Right.
for me, I like connecting with people. So I met Tammy, and she like, I'm from Chicago too. So ever since then, when she come up here, we go hang out, have a little lunch or whatever. And Tammy is like a big sister to me. She's always encouraging and she's doing a lot of good stuff. Like I mean, like she does stand up comedy and things of that nature. So and it's
Nice.
crazy that when Tammy came to Chicago, because I'm in Chicago Heights, so one of her relatives lived out this way too. So she's like, oh, I'm right down the street from you, Wade. So
Wow.
so yeah,
Small.
so
Chicago, so big, but so small.
yeah, but I wanted to give a chance to work with her and then some of the other actors. So it's like, it was kind of nice to be able to put something together where we can work together. So and to me,
Yeah.
I also kind of like the concept of not only always filming in person because during COVID,
Mm-hmm.
I understand that like a lot of things shut down and people weren't able to do
Right.
stuff. And so I wanted to take the time to just tap into like using Zoom and using FaceTime and things and that
Mm-hmm.
because like now in films too, you're seeing a lot of them implementing that stuff in it.
Right.
And I mean, I think that that's pretty cool. I think it's actually brilliant. I think it's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah. There were definitely some things that came out of COVID, that really changed. It changed us, for the better. I always say that I can't even make it without Instacart, uh, Walmart pickup. You got all these stores where you can do pickup now. I don't have to go walk in the store. I still do it to this day.
I love it.
But even funeral services being streamed, that was one of the best things.
Yeah, because
You know,
because during COVID, we had restrictions here, and
mhm.
the funeral home I work for is a pretty busy place, so it was kind of tough telling people, um, you can only have 10 people, and what?
Right,
That's my
right,
mama, that's my cousin, that's my and I look, I understand, but it's like laws are laws, rules are rules, but
right.
you ain't trying to get a beat down, trying to tell everybody. So
That's so
the
true.
Zoom people did a lot of Zoom and a lot of video and it was different,
Yeah,
it was different, but I mean it's one of them things where that was beyond our control.
it
It was
was.
rough. It was really rough because it was crazy. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine. I had people, friends and family pass away during COVID, and I was able to, view it on the stream. So that was the best thing for me. I felt connected and everything. But and they were having some of those issues too. They're saying we can't, bring this many people in and all that. So I couldn't. I am a nurse, so I understand what you're saying, and that happens in the hospital, right? People come in, I want to see so and so, and sometimes you can't. You got that diffuse family situations, but being at the funeral home, I never thought about that. I never thought
Yeah.
about that perspective. Yeah. So thank you for that. That's a real perspective right there. And so the web series, I love that. Did you tell us where we could find it at? I don't remember,
Oh
but do
yeah.
it again.
Oh well, you can find it on Vimeo. I love Vimeo. A lot of my work I put it there just because I've been on Vimeo for quite a while. But I
Okay.
actually like it. It's a pretty cool platform for filmmakers to connect and like each other's work and just have fun. But it's
Mm-hmm.
on Vimeo. My Vimeo is Wade Filmmaker 777 on Vimeo. I love the number seven, so that's why I got three sevens in it.
All right. I love that. Some of the filmmakers I've interviewed before, they have their work on Vimeo as well. Also different platforms, but they use that as a stepping stone to do a short film and then getting on Tubi and things like that or the other streaming networks. What about you? Is that something that you're
uh,
aspiring to do or have done?
I've actually had some conversations with Tubi. I think if I choose to go that route, I think I would like to focus more on eventually making features. I think Vimeo is a pretty cool because like this is my thing. Like it's like no disrespect to any platform, but me, I don't really focus so much on things that make me look bigger. I
That's
tend to focus just on having fun with what I'm doing, and because I
mm-hmm.
feel like wherever you are, the people will come. Like I would rather the people come to the platform to see me as opposed to them just on the platform and they're like, oh, let me check this guy. Like I think it's a difference. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
It's
Okay.
a difference. I feel like if the people are going to like your work or they want to see your work, they know how to find you. You know. So me, I
Your
don't really
community.
focus
You
on
have a
things that
community.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't focus on things that tend to make like and I'm not saying this to knock anybody else because I get it, you know, but
Mm-hmm.
to me that's not really my focus as of right now. I just like making stuff.
I love that. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's a part of the motivation and empowerment that we give to other people is that you do you. This is a wide world full of so many opportunities, and you could do whatever it is you want to do, how you want to do it.
Yeah.
And that is what makes it so great.
I love Tubi.
Yes.
I like some of the things I've seen on it, and I love that they're giving you know people platforms to put because again the film industry has been guarded and gated for a long time, and a lot of people
Yes.
don't realize this, but I always say this: the film industry is bigger than Hollywood. Hollywood is just a small part of the industry. However, it's a small part of the industry that has a big monopoly on the industry, and so
Yep.
a lot of people got to realize that way before even YouTube and things of that nature, there have been a whole lot of independent filmmakers who were traveling the world, screening their movies at local theaters and doing things of that
Okay.
nature. So this is nothing. This nothing new. It's just we now have a platform that's more at everybody's fingertips now. But for the
Okay.
most part, I think that it's just about you doing what you enjoy, having fun, and of course, you know the ultimate goal. People do want to make their money back because I mean it is a
Right.
business, but to me, I feel like God has blessed me to the point where, like, you know, I can get paid for it or I can do it as a hobby. Doesn't really make me the difference because I'm gonna do it because I love it anyway. You know.
I love that. And I gotta tell you, your web series, let the audience know this is a high quality web series. Wade, you're doing a good job. And I'm looking at the credits after the film is completed, and you even have cinematographers and things like that. Before I was the official podcast for this year's Detroit Filmmaker Awards, I didn't even know what a cinematographer was. Okay. So, and I see you have that. I mean, I'm just like, Wade is really doing it. You really have like a full scale production going on. And I'm just in awe of you. So that is awesome.
Oh look, I try to find people who are a little bit better than me with cinematography for that. Because sometimes like I put it like this, and filmmaking is funny because I remember somebody once saying, I don't like when directors act and they act in their own film and stuff like that. And that's easier said than done because I often think about Spike Lee, who's one of my favorite filmmakers.
Okay.
I remember him saying he acted in his projects at times because he didn't have the funding or they ran out of money, so he had to step in. So I understand that Tyler Perry, he stepped in and started, that's how he started playing Medea. Um,
Okay.
I think I would have changed the character up a little bit, but to each his own. I get it. I understand that sometimes when you put your all into everything, you sometimes have to step in. And so to me, I always try to,
Right.
you know, keep my projects and the means to where if I have to step in, it's something that I'm comfortable doing because you
Mm-hmm.
never know. You just never know. So I keep my
Right.
productions kind of manageable because in my experience of doing this for 9 years, I understand. And see, it's a little different when you're dealing with a project with bigger budgets. You can afford to
Mm-hmm.
have understudies, and But one thing about me, I don't never like to waste people's talent, so I try to always keep it to where it's manageable, because it
Okay.
do take money to. Because one thing about me, I don't want nobody working for me for free. Anybody that
Okay.
work with me on the project, I do have my friend Eugene. He'll step in. He won't charge me nothing or whatever. I appreciate him for that. But other than that, I try to make sure that I compensate people for their time because
What?
yeah, no, because and I remember one lady telling me this. She said that, well, some of the actors that work with you, they seem a bit amateur. But what I was getting at is that whether somebody's an amateur or this is their first or second time, when you work with me, I'm gonna treat you like you're the biggest star in the room. I believe in paying people. It ain't no excuse because again, we have this tendency to wait till people get to a certain level to celebrate them or treat them like this or
Yeah,
that. But the truth be told, everybody is somebody,
that's
and
right. All right
you
now.
never know who people gonna become. So you have to be very mindful of how you treat people. You
That's
have to
so
be very
true.
mindful of that. So I don't look. It don't make me the difference who a person is. If you work with me, I'm gonna pay you. You ain't got to. I mean, one time
Wow.
we got a girl off the street because somebody didn't show.
It happens. It
Because
happens.
because to me, I think that you got to let people know you do appreciate them.
That is so good. You know what? You are just filling us with gems today. And I love that. And that happens even with people with the big budgets. When I've been interviewing people, it has happened. But I've even read some casting calls and they said we can't pay you, but we'll feed you or we'll give you IMDb.
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you the truth about that. Well, this is my take on that. I don't see anything wrong with it if that's what people want to do. But this is me. A lot of times, in my experience, and this is something that I don't hear people talk about a lot. But a lot of times, actors will do projects, and a lot of times they don't get paid, and then they turn around and don't even get the film.
Wow.
And so I never want to take anybody to do that. That's why anybody now there have been some works that I've done, but it's more of my content that I have put out than I not have. But I do have some film projects that I just wasn't able to put them out for different reasons because somebody didn't come back and to
Mm,
me, I hated to have to do that, but I did pay those individuals. And so to
okay.
me, you gotta walk away with something. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and so to me, I think that it's a waste of somebody's time to not pay them and then to turn around and not give them the film. And a lot of times what I do, even still, if I edit the film and even if I don't put it out, I'll still give it to the actor to use it for their reel because to
Okay.
me it's not just my work, it's still their work too because they were a part of it. That's what because
Right.
a lot of times all of us are doing this entertainment thing, but a lot of us may have some of the same reasons, some different reasons, but somebody need to be able to walk away with something. I just
That's
think that
right.
I think that that's only right, and I think that's unfair because I have heard a lot about that happening, and that's one thing that
Yep.
I don't play about that. Like if people work with me, even if the film want the greatest film, I let them decide. You want to use this for your reel, go ahead
Oh,
because
that's good.
that's your time. That's your
Oh,
time.
I hear so much about that. And so kudos to you. You are a young man in this industry and you have a good work ethic and really trying to help be positive and push others as well. And your name is on the line and you respect that. And your name is your bond. So kudos to you. I like that. I hear some of the big people, they don't even do it. So kudos to you for that.
There's talent all over the United States and in other countries, but here in Chicago and Illinois,
Mhm.
period, at that, there's a lot of talented people. And to me, I've always said this again from being in the funeral business a lot of time. When you see a lot of the young people or anybody pass away, you often hear a lot about somebody when they get shot, when they get, something tragic
Mhm.
happened or whatever. And then you find out this person was a artist or they had talent in this.
Right.
And I did post this to the one of the papers. I ain't gonna call name, I ain't trying to get in no trouble, but my question to them would be when will you all start doing something to start recognizing people's talented in the city more because I understand it's your job to, get the news and all that, but I think that it's enough talent here to where Chicago could do a better job with, boosting
Yep.
artists and just helping promote the positive things. Why you don't put more effort into promoting some positive
The
stories? Why not just try to make it just about that person being an artist trying to make a difference?
I love that you're saying that.
You,
We talked about a little bit about your mortician life. You got many lives. We talked about your web series. Now, where does the pro wrestling fit in?
know what ended up happening was after I finished film school, I had reached out to a guy by the name of Steve Boz. He's wrestled in a lot of different promotions. He's been on the scene for quite a long time. And I know that he trained quite a few people. I know he trained like Sky Blue, she's in AEW. He trained Axel
Mm.
Rico. I think he trained like Mustafa Ali. He trained some other people. And he's been doing it a long time. And so I had reached out to him and I asked him, can I come in and do a documentary? And so he like, yeah, so I come in and we have been kind of going back and forth for some time because again, I was at the funeral home full time. So on the weekends,
Okay.
forget it, Friday, Saturday, you're gonna be doing services or whatever. So it's kind of
Right.
hard for in that business, it's kind of hard for you to unless you just take off or whatever. But and so I finally had made it to one of the practices. And so we were in the ring and we talked. He said, so when you gonna start? I said, I start next week. So me and my friend Jay, we just started training for professional wrestling, and it was different. It was cool, and we ended up meeting some people we watched in WWE as kids, like Scotty Too Hotty. We met
Oh, nice.
Hornswoggle. We got a chance to work a show with Carlito and some different people, and it was cool because I didn't really see that coming. But
Wow.
it was really cool, and I hung around and trained for about 2 years. I still have
Oh.
some affiliations with it, but I haven't really been as involved with that because I've
Mm-hmm.
been trying to get so much other stuff done. But that's how it happened.
Wow. Wow. And did you ever get the documentary done?
I'm still working on it. I'm still.
So, how has being a going and stepping into that world of wrestling, pro wrestling, how do you think that has helped you with your storytelling and your physical confidence?
It helped me a lot, and like multiple ways. And I'm gonna tell you why that's a great question because, and one thing you got to be fearless. You got to
Mm,
be fearless because when you in that ring, I mean, it's like you kind of gambling with your with your ability because one wrong move you can really hurt yourself and end your career or really
right.
really really hurt yourself. So you got to be brave. I admit that you got to be really brave, but also it kind of helped me in filmmaking because one of the things that I see in pro wrestling, right, that some people may know or may not know is that it's kind of similar to the film industry in a sense as to where you have the major part of the industry,
Mm-hmm. Like
which
the
is
WWF.
yeah, the
Okay.
WWE and then AEW now and
WWE.
all that,
Yeah.
your
Okay.
TNA, and then you have the indies. And
Oh,
so
really?
a
Okay.
lot of
Okay.
times, so on the indie scene, there are so many talented wrestlers out here, all over the globe. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even know pro wrestling was very big in Chicago. I would have never
Me
known
neither.
I would have
Wow.
never known until I started, getting involved with it. And I'm like, wow, they got NWA and they have, all these different promotions here and people going to Wisconsin and Iowa and all these
Wow.
different people who are, connected to the major part of the industry. But the most important thing that I've learned from that is like it's like wow to see how a lot of these individuals are out here pursuing their dream, traveling city to city, putting on local shows. And what I
Hmm.
learned from that is that a lot of times, instead of trying to take the big steps, it's okay to find local promotions. It's okay to find people that are in your area doing whatever you're trying to do and to learn from them. Even if you don't stay long or you don't have to
Okay.
go and be a part of it, but just go learn. And you'll see what people actually go through because like doing that showed me like, wow, like, a lot of the people that actually are training for this and some of the people you see in WWE now and AEW and all them, a lot of them came from those indies promotions. And
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. It's one of them things. But one thing I learned again, just like filmmaking, you can't wait till you go to the major leagues to start doing all those things. You got to start preparing yourself to do that now because when you get there, that's what you're going to be doing anyway.
Right.
So you
Right.
might as well get yourself used
You got
to.
to start now.
You might as well
Right.
get yourself used to it because it's like because it ain't nothing but it ain't less work. It's more work.
Right. Wow. I love that. I didn't. Now you're telling me something because I didn't know that about Chicago.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's that kind of thing, just to kind of get yourself out there and because a lot of times some of these shows be packed out. Some of them be packed
Hmm.
out. Some of them maybe have 10 people in the crowd. Some may have 200
Right.
people in the crowd. But the thing is showing up. I think that's
I
the
understand that.
most important thing. So I got experience working some wrestling shows. I didn't get a chance to get into the ring part, as far as like I was in the ring in practice, but at the shows they had us working security. And
Okay.
that's funny because a lot of wrestlers, that's what they do. They start you out working security. Wrestling was not something that I got into to try to go to WWE and nothing like that. I did it as a hobby because again, I was in the funeral business. I'm doing film, and so I wanted something that I could just have fun, you know.
Wow.
But that go back to a conversation we just had. You never know who may be in the room because a lot of those individuals at those promotions, you look up 3 or 4 years later, you may see them in WWE. You may
That's
see
so
them in
true.
AEW.
Yep.
So you just never know who people are gonna become. So that's why I say I don't look down on nobody. I don't
That's so
underestimate
true.
nobody because you don't know who. And I mean, whether they do what they do or don't, everybody deserves to be treated with respect. So
Oh, oh, yeah.
that's just how I was raised.
How do you compartmentalize all your different aspects of your
Well,
life?
that's a great question. So for me, I just always remember I take everything one step at a time. But one thing I would say is, first of all, I remember this. One thing that wrestling, funeral service, and filmmaking has in common is that all of them involve storytelling. Funeral service, you come together, somebody transitions, you come together to tell their story. That's really what it's about. Their whole ceremony and celebration is about celebrating that individual story.
That's true.
Filmmaking is all about storytelling. Wrestling, telling the story in the ring. But when I compartmentalize them, I just take everything. I keep everything in this kind of own category.
Okay.
And the reason why, because and like I said, that's a great question because when I was in the funeral business full time, there was some individuals kind of had some issues like wrestling, you're filmmaking, you're doing this, you're doing, what are you doing? You need to be a funeral director. Quit
Okay.
focus on finishing your internship. But to me, one thing that I learned in life is this: is that one thing about me, tomorrow ain't promised to nobody. And
So
so
true.
I've always been the type of person that I take things one step at a time because a lot of times, and again, you know, everybody's life is different. Even with my situation with going to school to be a funeral director, I ain't got no problem telling people it took me a while to pass that test to get out of school. Yes, it
Hmm.
did. But at the same time, while I was still trying to pass that test, I was not going to stop myself from moving forward because one thing about me, I don't speak for nobody else, but one thing about me, I believe that I have many things that I can do. And I
Hmm.
always learned that just because you have a roadblock in one place, it don't mean you got to let that stop you from doing other things. Because a lot of
That's right.
times, some people do devote their whole life to doing one thing. But honestly, I think that we're all meant to do great things in a sense. And I don't think that we all ever just do one thing. I think that
Hmm.
we have a lot of interests. And why
Yes.
should you
Yes.
value one interest over the other interest? Like to me, you never know what God is going to do in your life. But
That's
sometimes
right.
if you limit yourself, you can mess
Yeah.
yourself up because a lot of times there have been people that could have been in situations where it's not about it. I tell anybody this: you don't never give up your dreams. Everything in your life that happened is meant to. I believe that if you a person that walk with the Most High God, that He is the director of your path and your steps. So
Hmm.
and everything you have to let Him lead you because He'll never
That's
lead you
right.
wrong. Even from an economical standpoint, even lawyers and stuff like this becoming content creators. I've realized that like for me, I'm not gonna lock myself into doing one thing
That's
because
right.
I feel that it is in my purpose to be a blessing to people. And I think
Hmm.
about how the Bible talk about it's more blessing to more blessing to give than receive. But I
Hmm.
don't mind being in a situation where if God bless me with enough that I can be a blessing to somebody, then
That's right.
and I
I
choose to.
love that.
I I feel like that's my obligation.
So Way, we had a great, authentic, just real conversation. I love your insight. You're young, but you have some great insight. I really do. I really do appreciate that and admire that with you. So let's see. I always like to ask my guests two things: what's next for them, and what quote are they living by today?
Well, God willing, I'm gonna be relocating to California. I think eventually it's gonna be one of them things where I'm living there and somewhere else. I know it's expensive. I'm already aware of that, but I feel led to go there. I do have my own businesses. To God be the glory for that. But I have to focus on the path that God gave me. But one of my favorite quotes is that without faith, it's impossible to please God. I just would
Right.
tell anybody, whatever you do in this life, just make sure you consult God about it and keep your heart clean, and it'll keep you
Yep.
out of a lot of trouble. And you don't never look down on other people. Don't get too critical of other people. And when you hear things about other people, pray for them, because any of us can fall if we're not careful. And so I just think that it's just a wise thing to just be more of an observer in life, and don't be so
Mm-hmm.
quick to destroy other people or tear them down.
And
Like,
talking. We thank you so much for being on Carla's channel. So let the people know again, where can they find you, your web series?
you can find me on Facebook, Wade Simmons. Feel free to reach out. You can find me on Instagram, Wade Jedi 99. My work is on Vimeo, Wade Filmmaker 77737. I love God. I love people. And, if you want to talk or whatever, I'm a chatterbox, so feel free to reach out. I love connecting with people, and it's a beautiful
Yes.
thing.
I love it too. Heart Nation, thank you for hanging with us. And we want you to take care of yourselves and take care of one another. And we will talk to you soon. Take care, Heart Nation.